Firstly, I just want to feel what it's like being up here. It looks pretty good. And I think since Gareth Southgate could do his waistcoat, I'll do mine. The fines are over as well. I'm very conscious that I'm between you, the awards, and the bar. So I will aim to keep my time to 15 minutes. I do feel in some ways somewhat of an imposter despite Trevor's kind words, because as an Army officer, not a Royal Air Force officer, I may not appear to have a connection, but actually my family is one of aviators. All my father's brothers all flew or invented aircraft. So it is very special to me to be here tonight. I wanted to say congratulations to all of you, because I've really enjoyed those of you who have had the chance to talk with this evening, and it was a great pleasure to be shown around the training that you've been going through, and really impresses me, The people I've met, the instructors I've seen, the maturity of the people who are here today, from a whole range of backgrounds, whether you've served before and you've come here to get commissioned, whatever it is, I know the Royal Air Force will be very well served by you all. So congratulations to you all, and particularly on Thursday night. I also think we should acknowledge the centenary flypast. I was in London with captains of industry who I'm lucky enough to work with and coach, and they were just in awe of the Royal Air Force. To have that gap, I think someone said, of 5 seconds between the flights, and to have so many aircraft with all the preparation that went on, all the rehearsals that happened here, a huge feat of logistics, preparation, and professionalism. You are in a very, very fine service, and you should be proud of that. So congratulations to you all on your service. Storytelling is a skill that you will all need to have as leaders, as officers. And I was always taught that there's a very simple 3-phase story, which is then, now, and how. Then, as you were then, how you are now, and how you got here. So in some ways, as I look around you all, I think back to 38 years ago when I was sitting where you were sitting. And I listened to the guy who was giving our speech, and I always remember he said to us then, gentlemen and ladies, you will never be rich men and women, but you will live the lives of rich men and women. And also, I would say to you, as well as that tip he gives you, you will be leaders in the Royal Air Force and in life. Because if you're a good leader here in the Royal Air Force, you will do very well in business. And that's been my journey. 20 years in the military, and now almost 20 years in business. And the military leaders, the men and women, they really stand out. So keep your skills up. Keep learning all the time. Be hungry to learn, because it will serve you well and it will pay you well. I wanted to leave you with just 3 tips. There is the rule of 3. If any of you have ever done speaking, always stick to the rule of 3. If you've got a briefing to a senior officer, always make sure it's 3 points. Even if by the time you get to point 1, you can't remember what point 3 is, by the time you get to 2, you'll remember what point 3 is. And the 3 points I want you to remember are 3 tips for you to take in your service. Whether you're traveling at Mach 3 as the pilot or the passenger, you won't have time perhaps to read the top tips book that Leigh and I wrote, but we've left some here for you to read, which you can sign out at times. The 3 tips I want you to remember is courage, humility, and discipline. You heard that my father was a pilot. He was in the Buccaneer Mark 1. He was the commanding officer of 801 Squadron on board HMS Victorious. And he paid the ultimate price, which some of you may one day have to pay. And to save his navigator, he gave his own life. And that's not something I want to be morbid about or sad about, but because of him, and because of his courage, humility, and self-discipline, I'm here today having the honor of speaking to you all. And really, what I learnt from him, and the reason why I do what I do, is I want you all to go out and become inspiring men and inspiring women, and make a real difference to your service. And you are very lucky to lead the men and women you do in the Royal Air Force. It is an honor and a privilege. Do not ever abuse it. Now, you'll stay in the Royal Air Force, hopefully, for as long as you choose, and that you may not leave at a time of someone else's choosing because of some appalling bad behavior. And if you want to know about some bad behavior, I'll talk to you in the bar about it after. I've got some great stories about officers and bad behavior. But choose to go at a time of your choosing. And when you do go, take some of these tips with you. So, 3 tips. I'll keep it to these. Courage with a story, humility with a story, and discipline with a story. Courage. Your personal courage, your moral integrity, your willingness to know what you stand for and what you won't stand for will put you in good stead. We've been having many a story about our service and our time in the forces together and who stood out. And you are going to be very lonely at times because you're going to be going and you're going to serve somewhere and you're going to find things going on which is not acceptable, which is beyond the pale, which is either immoral, illegal, or just wrong. And you will have to say something about it. Otherwise, you'll be a bystander. And if you're a bystander, you are supporting what's going on. You are condoning it. So be a systemic disturber. Stir it up. Don't be a pain in the arse, but just challenge and question why things are done that way. I'm really curious. I noticed this is going on. Help me understand. Why do we do that? It's the way it's always been done around here. Okay, but can we do it differently? So your courage, your personal courage, is going to stand you in good stead. I want to talk to you briefly about a personal story about courage. Travel a lot with the Royal Air Force. I was in the air mobile and the airborne parts of the armed forces. And because of my father's experience, I got a bit nervous when I was under the control of an RAF pilot. And I always wanted to jump out of the aeroplane before it landed. So I found the only way to do that was to get a parachute and go and do the airborne training and earn my red beret and my parachute wings. I actually was very scared of heights. And it was after one good dinner night like this, very drunk, that with a friend, we dared each other to go and do P Company. I regretted it when we came to the scaffolding, which was one of the tests. And you have to climb up some 50 feet up this ladder in this open scaffolding, and there's that wooden plank that goes out to the end. And then there's a gap, there's the void of about 5-6 feet, and it goes down 5-6 feet, and there's another plank, wooden plank, about this wide going out. These days with health and safety, it's really quite safe. You have a harness, there's a safety net. In those crazy days, they didn't do that. They just thought you were either a wimp or you were dead hard and you did it. Now I just stood with my knees shaking, watching guys climb up the ladder, being told, stand by, go! And if they didn't go, sir, climb down, goodbye, you're RTU, you're returned to your unit. And he'd gone. Before we'd even come back to the barracks, that officer or that soldier had gone. 2 had failed, and I climbed up. I could hear my knees clattering and my arms shaking as I was going up, and I got to the end, and I have a very vivid imagination. I saw my impending death in front of me as I collapsed and bounced from scaffolding pole to scaffolding pole. But he said, stand by, jump, and I just cleared my mind and I launched myself into the void. And I found myself halfway down the plank. It actually is an illusion. It's not very far at all, but it felt a big jump. And you are going to launch yourself into the void. You are going out from here to become officers that others will look up to. Make sure you earn it. And make sure you have the next point, which is the humility. And that's my second story, is about humility. Because it's all well and good being a pilot. And many of my friends, I have lots of RAF friends, and I'm happy to say that in any company. But 1 or 2 of my pilot friends can get arrogant, and they think they are God's gift. And occasionally we have to bring them down to reality. So please, be proud to be a Royal Air Force pilot or a Royal Air Force officer, but keep your humility. Because only the strong can be vulnerable. Learn from your mistakes. Otto von Bismarck said, any fool can learn from his own mistakes, but to be really wise, Learn from other people's mistakes, which is why we wrote a book about other people's mistakes. So my story of humility, from a personal one, and my own blunder, and I haven't got the whole evening to tell you all of my blunders, so I'll just keep to this one, was I was assistant to the head of the army. I think the term you probably come across, those of you in the forces, is aide de camp, ADC. And it was a job I had always wanted, very exciting, but I knew I had a sort of shorter lifespan than a World War I officer. My two predecessors had both been fired by the general. He was one beast of a man. Scary was not the word. Everybody was afraid of him. I saw him shred a brigadier and feed body parts under the door. I mean, monstrous. And both had been fired, and both had to leave the army. That was it. It wasn't just losing the job. They lost their career. So I thought, well, this is not really good. So I was nervous, all the time nervous. And the only one person he was afraid of was General Desmond Gordon. And he had been ADC to General Desmond Gordon. So I thought, this guy, who is he that scares this monstrous beast of a general? And he said to me, look, if General Desmond rings, whatever's going on in my diary, and you're controlling my diary, I must go. It's got to be really important if I don't go. I must go. So I thought about this. No days went by. And a few weeks later, I get this phone call. Hello? I go, hello, sir? General Desmond here. I go, oh, right. Hello, sir. Dinner? Lunch. I think we'll have lunch. Lunch, the club, Thursday. Right, sir. For the general? Yes, okay, yes. So I look through and I go, oh, terribly sorry, sir. He's with the Prime Minister. Oh, how about you? Me, sir? Lunch with you? Yes, just you. Right, sir, I'll be there. Put down. The day came. We were busy getting the general off to see the Prime Minister, and everything was going fine. And then I saw this ashen-looking colonel come in, and he goes, Jonathan, where should you be? And I went, here, just having a good day. Oh no! Oh, God! No, I've got a cardiac. Hurricanes hit my house. I was thinking of all these lies I could make up. You cannot do it. I said, I've got to face the music. So right, I'll ring him up. Well, of course, in those days there were no mobile, so I rang his home number, and I got the wife, Leigh Langley, and I said, I'm terribly sorry. I can't make any excuse. I completely forgot to have lunch with the general. And there's this silence, and she went, oh my dear, you are in trouble. Oh, right, I wrote him a letter of apology. And then I thought I had to face the general. So I opened the door, this huge office. It's like the chief of the general's office. He's the head of the office. He's an office like this, and I'm at this end. And he goes, yes! And I go, sir, I've got your business cards. Oh, good, bring them over. So I brought my own games in. There you go. I said, oh, good, well done. And I stood there beside him. And he went, yes? What is it? I said, I made a mistake, sir. Oh, it can't be important. What is it? I've got these great business cards. What is it? I said, okay, here goes. I forgot to have lunch with General Desmond Gordon. Oh my God! He said, just, you must ring him. I've rung him. You must write to him. I've written to him. Just go away. And so I left and I hid for about a few days. And he kind of forgot about it. 3 weeks later, phone call. Hello, sir. General Desmond here. Right, sir. Hello. Lunch, the club, Thursday. For the general, sir? No, for you. I won't forget, sir. I know. And do you know what? He was the most marvelous host, and he taught me many tips, which I've included here today, and he was the most humble guy, and I learned so much from that and from the mistakes. Because you'll make a mistake, but always ask yourself, what have I learned, and what action am I going to take? Learning and action. Because we will all make mistakes, and many of them, but only the strong can be vulnerable. So my third and my final story is about discipline. Discipline isn't just about you on the parade ground on Thursday. It's actually much more about self-discipline. Because often in your life, you won't feel like things. Do you know what? You rarely feel like things. So, for example, a couple of weeks ago here, nearby in Lincolnshire, I did the triathlon to raise money for Leigh, my wife, who's at the other side of the table, charities she has for vulnerable young women. And I didn't feel like doing it, but I girded myself up and I did it. And it feels really good when you do it. There's almost a saying, bring it on, feel the fear and do it anyway, yeah? Bring it on. Because the things you avoid, they still haunt you. They're like some monster chasing you down the corridors in this building. Just turn around and say, bring it on. Self-discipline. And I think of a story of self-discipline. I was with the Scots Guards, serving as an officer for a couple of years in Cyprus, and a lovely posting. And there is a double mountain marathon called, a bizarre name, the Cyprus Walkabout. Has anybody heard of it? Give me a thumbs up if you've heard of the Cyprus Walkabout. One or two of you have, yeah. This crazy thing, 2 marathons in 2 days up a 6,000-foot mountain. And the commanding officer gave me the task. He gave me 8 teams of 3 people in each team, and he said, I want you to win and get as many as you can in the top 10. And we were doing really well, my own team, as we passed through these checkpoints, carrying our little backpacks all the way up this hill, steaming heat, and we got near the summit, and we were all exhausted. Myself, a piper, and a lance sergeant. And they went, boss, can't we walk? And the little voice in my head went, yeah, do you know what? I feel shattered. I think we'll walk. It's the easy option, you know. To make them run, it's difficult. Perhaps I'll just go easy with it and just go with the flow. You'll often have this challenge, going with the flow or doing the right thing. And I thought, actually, I just had this visualization of my father, the aviator. And I said, he's a man of courage, humility, and discipline. What would he do? And I went, guys, I'm either going to grab you by the front of the shirt or I'm going to encourage you, but I'm going to pull you up this hill and we're going to do this and we're going to run. And they went, just let us do it. We don't need being grabbed. And we ran. The 3 of us ran like lunatics up to the summit. And on the second day, they did us in reverse order. So the slowest teams went first and we were the last team as the fastest team to go. We hared down the mountain. We got all the way down to within half a mile of the finish. And they had pipers every 20 yards playing Scotland the Brave. And the commanding officer in an aircraft coming, come on, Jonathan! Come on, the Scots Guards! He was a lunatic, but it was like something out of Chariots of Fire. And we had trained, we had done the discipline, we'd looked at our food, we'd worked together as a squad, and we had the mental discipline. And that led to us setting and breaking the world record and still holding it to this day because of that discipline as a team. So, in conclusion, the 3 points I want you to take away. This whole point about your personal courage. You are going to be tested as young officers. They are going to deliberately try and see whether you'll go for the easy option or whether you'll have the courageous conversations. Will you avoid it? Will you duck the issue? Or will you face it on with courage and doing the right thing? Secondly, the humility. You want to be inspiring leadership role models. Please constantly strive to set yourself as a role model. But also remember, you have feet of clay and you will make mistakes. And apologize. Have the humility to apologize when you are wrong. So keep your humility. And thirdly, the discipline, the self-discipline. Per ardua ad astra, okay? Through disciplined hard work to the stars. You are amazing people. I wish you every success, and I look forward to meeting you as officers in your future careers. Thank you very much.